Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Strong. I'm so excited to be bringing our newest episode to you. Today, Strong goes all the way back on the road and takes us to Lebanon. I am thrilled to be here for so many reasons. For those of you tuning in for the very first time, welcome to our journey. It's called Strong. Strong is about connecting communities from all over the world. We want to be creating circles of empowerment for our youth. We want to start bringing conversations with real people so that our youth can understand the realities of life stories and how life can take different twists and different turns. But in the end, we're all really in this together. Welcome, Christine. Welcome to our newest episode of Strong. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share my humble story and my very humble experience of what life has offered me so far.
It's not only humble, it's inspiring, Christine, and I can't wait to be sharing it with everybody watching today and tomorrow and whenever they're tuning in. But before we get into the story, it's always great to let the audience know how I met my guest. So why don't you tell the story?
Okay, how I met Maria. Okay, Maria and I met through our first coaching diploma that we did together in Dubai. And we were a small group of women getting trained with a fantastic master coach whose name is Joe Simpson, and for who Maria and I are grateful because we were talking about that. Our story together brought Maria to Beirut because usually I used to be the one who flies to Dubai. And then one day, for a reason that I will share with you, Maria flew to Dubai with everybody in the class to support me and be with me on my journey of becoming a coach. And then after that, a couple of years later, we lost contact. This year, specifically in November, I reached out to Maria because I follow her and I see her everywhere, as you do. So I wanted to see her, and unfortunately with my short trip to Dubai, I couldn't connect with her. And then when I came back to Beirut, I learned from a very good friend of mine, who's also a friend of Maria, what happened with Maria, and I heard the story of Dania. And this is where I had the urge to pick up the phone and to call her and to see how she's doing and if there's anything I can support her with. So this is how Maria and I reconnected. It was because of Dania. And this is how I became part of Strong. And I'm very honored to be one of the people who are able maybe to make a little difference or bring a little story that could be shared with someone that could be inspiring and connecting at a certain level. Yeah, that's
so amazing. And let's start right at the beginning, Christine. I mean, I love interviewing people because even if I know them, I always learn something new. And I always walk away from every episode feeling not just inspired, but also amazed at how a person you think you know can have so many stories along their journey of life. And that's what I really believe is what's special about this journey called Strong. So let's start right at the beginning, right at the start. Who is Christine?
Christine today is and has always been passionate about human dynamics. I'm always intrigued with how people behave, why they behave, and why they do what they do, and where they operate from. The other thing is I am someone who's an eternal learner, someone who believes that learning is always a journey and never a destination. So I keep learning and evolving. And I'm also passionate about making a little difference in the people that cross my path in this life and making this world a little bit of a better place with whatever is available to me, I would like to say. Yeah.
Fabulous. Now take us to the woman.
Yeah. Christine is a wife to a wonderful man who's very supportive, a mom to 2 boys and a wonderful girl. And I'm always growing and contributing.
What does it feel like to be Christine on a typical day, like on a normal day, when she's just Christine?
What you see is what you get. Actually, it's an interesting question. A typical day for Christine would start early in the morning, getting up to do what she has to do, prepare the kids, and send them off to school if there's school, and then go and do whatever duties and responsibilities she has. And they are quite many because I'm someone who's of a multitasker and who gets involved in sometimes more than what they can chew. So, so yeah, a typical day in my life is really full. And by the time the day is over, I might end up asking myself, how did the time pass? And most of the time I would feel fulfilled because of many things I've done. And sometimes I would say I should have done better than that. But anyway, it's always a learning curve for me. And I try to keep it up. I keep up with whatever comes my way.
You know, Christine, I remember meeting you for the first time. I remember we were in that classroom, and I mean, our teacher was just an inspiring person on her own. And I remember looking at, there were 3 other people. There was you, and 2 other women in the class at that time. And I remember looking around the room thinking, how does she do it? How is she so composed? How is she so smart and so beautiful? And she makes it look so seamless. How
is
do
this
you
how
do
I
it?
come across?
This is exactly how you came across. How do you do it? Because I think on the outside, you know, we look to people and we think, wow, how do they do it? And I'm now able to ask you, after all these years, how do you do it?
You know, I think it is relevant to to different things. If I remember growing up, I was brought up in a family with an amazing dad who I consider now as the biggest mentor in my life. God rest his soul. Uh, we were allowed to be who we are and do mistakes, and it was okay to do mistakes. So the way I handle if you want challenges is from a place where you know, it's fine if I didn't get it right this time, I'll get it right another time. The other thing that I think is relevant to that specifically, after I've went and studied what I know today, I've realized that I'm someone who has a high level of emotional intelligence that came a bit naturally to her. So I'm able to read a room, I'm able to digest you know, the information that comes to me, I'm able to feel what other people are feeling, and this is where I operate from, and this is where I think my composure comes from, and I do not take things personal.
Amazing. So you brought up your first and strongest role model being your dad. Take us back to those younger years. What was it like to be a 14-year-old Christine?
Well, actually, you just touched on a very critical age for me, because for me, like anything in life, there's always a date where you are someone before and someone after. 14 for me was a year of change, because I think I've moved from just being daddy's and mommy's little girl to that teenager who wants to be, do, and have whatever they want to have. So I would like to, no, it's not that I remember these days as a high level of acceptance from my parents in that sense, but also there was a sense of struggle because I always wanted more than I could handle, or more than what was allowed to me. But I remember one thing that sticks to me, and it's something that I pass to my children, is whenever I did a mess, I always knew that I could come back home and I can share the mess I made without being judged. It's not that I was not held accountable to it. And I remember this sentence that goes, my father used to tell me, tomorrow is another day, you can do better. I believe in you and you can do better. So this is what surfaces from that time. Yeah.
So mature at such a young age, or even So do you believe that as parents, we have a really strong impact, so much so that it can define how we become when we're older?
I wouldn't say define, but I would say it would provide or how do you say, gives us the interaction would give us tools and skills to navigate life at a longer, at a later stage. And I think it all goes back to the values of the family you're brought in, and the level of the maturity of the parent and the level of the awareness of the parent. And then again, it was not all the time flory and rosy, because we all jump into that state of being aware and composed into a different state where we are operating not at that level. But what I've learned from life is whatever my parents did with me or to me was whatever was available to them and to the best of their abilities. And the intention here from a parent place is really, really important. Yeah, and it takes a lot of relationship building, because no matter what happens, the stronger the relation is between parents and kids, and it will bring them more together than apart when challenges are there, and challenges are infinite. And you know, you're a mom, you have 3 kids, and life has been knocking you down many times over. So it is with me and with every parent going through the journey of parenthood.
Of course. Now let's take you a few years after being 14. Let's take you to that pinnacle time between the ages of 18 and 20. What was it like to be you then?
Wasn't really nice. Not in the sense I enjoyed the time, but today when I look back on my 18 to 20, or let's say 17 to 22, if I want to put it in a bracket, I was not being too authentic to myself, in the sense I was not honoring my being in a way. So this is, and I did not own my voice as much as I needed to stand up for what I thought I wanted and didn't want. And what I thought I wanted to have was completely different from who I am. And then I found out, and I connected with who I am later. And then I realized that I could have done better, but that period per se has been one of the biggest lessons in my life, because it taught me who I need not to be in order to become me. So yeah.
And this is the question for me, and when I'm working with the youth, or even when I'm reflecting back to my daughter, and I'm reflecting forward to my younger son and my younger daughter, I'm always thinking, what is the piece of the puzzle between the ages of 17 and 22? You know, that piece that convinces a young person that it's okay, tomorrow's another day, it's going to get better. And I like to ask this question to different guests, because somebody out there is watching this and thinking, her life looks so easy, mine is really hard. And I think in sharing our stories and saying, you know what, it wasn't always green on my side of the grass. There was always something that made me realize I have to try again tomorrow. What do you think it was for you? What was that piece that made you believe it's hard right now, but I can keep going? Or did you even think that? Or was it just a natural thing for you?
Not really. It was not natural, but the way you look at it from today in a timeline, you make it sound easy, but it was not really easy, because I used to struggle every day, and I used to be challenged on values level, that in a way that I did not understand at the time. There was that internal conflict. Although I knew that there's a safety haven for me and I can go back and I'm going to be supported, I used to judge myself a lot, and I used to worry a lot about what would people say, how do they see me, and what if I changed my mind on a decision that I fought for so hard. Everybody's going to blame me, and they were going to tell me, for example, I told you so. And that was a continuous struggle at that time. And this is why when I look at it, I consider it one of the first biggest lessons I ever had, because what I'm telling you today is relevant to a story where I was going out with someone and I was supposed to marry that someone, and then I didn't, and I was betrayed. So, and I kind of had to stand up for this relationship, and I saw everything crumble, and I doubted myself, and I doubted every decision I made, and I blamed myself, and I thought I should have listened more, because of course I was getting certain mentoring and advice that I wanted to shun away from and I didn't want to hear. But looking at it from today, I'm glad I didn't, because if I didn't go through a big challenge at such early age, I wouldn't have been able to move on my journey to develop or connect or be.
Mm. So amazing, isn't it? That looking back and saying, look how far I've come and look at what I've gone through, and really recognizing ourselves for that. And that's what I hope. I hope that the youth make it to that stage where they can look back and say, look at how far I've come. What would you say is the greatest challenge that you've faced in your life so far?
It's when you are touched by death for the first time. And it was the loss of my dad. Because you are never ready, no matter what. If the person is sick, not sick, you are never ready to the loss of a normal, or what you call a normal, to get into the place of an unknown and then see how to deal with it. So that was it. And at that time I was 29, and I would consider this shock or loss or grief was the trigger for my search for answers. And when I started asking questions, the answers started coming to me. But that was one of the toughest.
What would you say took you through those tough moments?
Okay. It was not an easy journey, and I think it was my will to continue and actually continue the legacy of my dad in a way, because he was not only a dad for me. My dad used to work within the school environment, which you are very, very familiar with. So he brought many generations, and I used to meet these people, and I used to hear how they spoke highly of him. And I knew that my perception of him, or our perception of him in the family, is not a one-sided thing. So the pain, the loss, the denial, the shock, the anger took a long time. But then one thing made me snap out of it, I remember, is when my husband asked one of my closest friends, and he said, do you know who this woman is? She's not the one I've known for so many years and I married into. And then I realized that, no, I have to pick up myself and I have to look to the future, because I can't change the past. But what I can do is live the present in order to create something wonderful in the future for me, for him, and for the people I will be eventually working with and talking to and interacting with. Yes.
That's a really interesting take on how you made it through grief and found the light at the end of the tunnel. Now I know what that feels like. I know what grief feels like. And I think you're right. It doesn't matter how it comes. You're never ready for it. And sometimes when you're going through it, I know with myself, I kind of think, I wish it didn't happen this way. Maybe it would have been easier for her if it happened that way, or for me. And the reality of it is, it's not how it happened, it's that it happened, isn't it? How do you, or what do you find as your role inspiration right now? What do you see as your waking up reason every morning?
Actually it is to support people to go through change in a much easier way and on a higher level of awareness, because I know, and we've spoke about it, Maria, you when you start asking for answers and you don't find them, it's really, really frustrating, and it only puts you down. So the way I do it is with sharing my stories, sharing my vulnerabilities, and being as honest and transparent as possible, and to share every single thing I tried personally, every book I read, every lesson I've learned. So to make it easier for other people to transit fast, faster, because as you said, change happens. Transition is the toughest period, and understanding the cycle of this transition or change uh, higher your level of awareness and connects you to your core values, to your resilience, and to creating a new reality. And this is what makes me up every morning. And this is why I've decided to specialize in leadership and culture transformation, because I would like to make these moments, whether on a personal level or an organizational level or a community level, not easier, simpler, but not easier. You know what I mean? Because when you have the tools and you know what you know, and you believe it within your heart that you can change and create something new, then you are on the right track. Because when you fail to change the things around you, something in you needs to change. And this is where the focus is. This is where the control is. And I would like to make people aware and accept the fact that they do have control and they do have a choice, no matter how tough or big the change or the situation or the loss or the grief is.
What do you feel you have control over in your life?
The first thing I have control over are my thoughts. Yeah, are my thoughts, is what I choose to do and where I choose to spend my energy, what I eat, how I behave with others, what I can give in order to take, because it all starts with giving. I control me. I control my behavior of things, and I control how I receive information, analyze information, and allow my feelings to surface while accepting them, and then being able to control my behavior to a certain extent. And I cannot do this all the time. I can talk about it, but in many times and many places, I am out of it, and I need coaching and mentoring myself, and I need someone to support me.
Of course. And that's so true. It doesn't matter who we are or how high we rise in our careers or in our status of our families. We will always come to a place in our life where we also need support. Christine, what triggers you in life? What do you see as those triggering moments? Because right now we're watching and we're still saying, wow, it's seamless. But we need to dig deeper, because we want to make sure that we're giving out the message of you can be this strong, but you're human too, right? So what are your triggers?
My triggers are people who lie to me. My triggers are the failures that I face every day inside my house, within the family, and the work I do sometimes. They just put me off. It's like, if I think, and again, it's my perception of myself. It's when I feel that I failed someone, or I failed in a task. Like sometimes I look at my kids and I say, oh my God, how did they turn out to be like this, right? And it's all my fault. It drives me crazy, and I snap, and I become the person who cannot control his emotions, who cannot control his behavior. And I could scream and shout, and sometimes I cry, and I cry sometimes alone in my room, until I realize that there's something else I can do. And I keep trying, and it's a continuous struggle. And I keep telling my husband, actually, the most failure I feel is when I am at home
Mm.
because I don't wear these masks,
Yeah.
right? And I'm comfortable in my environment because I know that these people love me unconditionally. And this is, to me, this is the scale where I see I'm doing progress.
Mm-hmm.
If I progress in this area, for me, I'm succeeding.
I love where we're going with this. I love that we're saying it's a process, it's a journey. Even at our age or older, it will always be a journey. We're just on that journey, and some days we'll get it and we'll be skillful at it, and some days we'll say, okay, tomorrow's another day. And that's
Yeah.
so wonderful. Christine, this is a community of bringing together role models for our youth, but it's also a community for supporting the role models. I think it's really important that on global scales, we're supporting not just those people that we feel need it the most, but we're supporting everybody. How can we support you on your journey that we're calling Strong?
Actually, the fact that you are inviting people to come over and tell their story the way it is at a very deep level is a good thing for me, because I know I'm not struggling alone.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we are all the same and we deal with the things in the same manner, and we are each on his own journey, and evolution is coming, but it's on different time scales for others. I love these conversations you're having, and it makes me feel that it's okay to be me to a certain level.
It really is. You know, I think as mothers, sometimes we're the hardest judges of ourselves. And when I look back at my mom and how she raised us, I remember being that teenager that was probably so judgmental or came across as so judgmental. And it always makes me think, how do we get this way? How do we as women judge ourselves so harshly and come across as so judgmental? So I hope that anybody watching this today is feeling like you are as well, and how I want this really to become the place that we have casual conversations, no masks, just taking it off and really sharing at a level, because it's hard enough to just wake up every day and raise children and have a career and keep our lives going, that the last thing I believe we need is the mask to weigh us down. So Christine, thank you. Thank you so, so much. I am really excited to be back in Beirut with you, even though we're digital. And hopefully one day we'll be able to be physically in the same geography, in the same place. And definitely looking forward to coming back to Beirut again. Maybe we need that reunion.
Yeah, we will do so. And I would love to have you over. And thank you again for the opportunity, and wishing you more power to you, Maria, with the work you're doing. It's really, really needed and really important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. And that brings us to the end of this amazing episode in Beirut, Lebanon with Christine. And she was talking to us about her journey of being Christine. I hope if this was your first episode that you were inspired to come back again next week, because next week we travel somewhere in the world again and we meet a wonderful role model, just like Christine. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you all next week.